Welcome to the Vari Longmuir podcast, episode number 22. Welcome to the Vari Longmuir podcast, and as you may have guessed, I'm your host, Vari. Since stepping away from the 9-to-5 world back in 2009, I've been a creative director, illustrator, artist, business mentor, and coach to fellow creative types. The intention with this podcast is to offer a fresh perspective about what it really means to be a working creative. I'm offering simple strategies to add a little more joy to your days and sharing my own insights and lessons learned, often the hard way, from over a decade of being my own boss. Now let's get into today's episode. Hi guys, and welcome to this week's episode. It's so lovely to be here with you, as always. I just recently got back from an overseas trip with my family, and we had the best time. There was lots of swimming and reading, lots of delicious food. We went to the local water park one day, and it was the most fun ever. When I was a kid, we always went to the local water park when we went on family holidays. My mum would usually hang out by the kids' pool with my sister, who was little at the time, while me and my dad and my older brother would hit the slides all day long. It felt like this really beautiful full circle moment to spend a day like this with my own kids. And as the universe would have it, the day we were there marked 5 years since my dad had passed away. And it was just the best way to really honour him, telling my boys stories of that time Grandad nearly lost his shorts on the kamikaze in Portugal. It was such a beautiful day. As relaxing and chilled as the trip was, it did not start that way. If you follow me over on Instagram, you may have noticed that the trip almost didn't happen. Well, for some of us anyway. Here's the backstory. The night before we left, I'd tucked the boys into bed, telling them to have a big sleep. Tomorrow would be a long day. Little did we know. We were flying in the evening, so the plan was for us to have a lazy morning at home, pack the car, head up to the city for some lunch, then cruise on to the airport in the middle of the afternoon. That did not happen. After the boys went to bed, I went into the office to get the passports. Yep, you can feel what's coming next. They were right where I thought they'd be because, I'm so organised. And by chance, I flicked through Gabriel's passport only to see that it had expired in April of this year. That hot wave came over me as I then ridiculously scrambled in the drawer to find the other passport. The one that would just have magically appeared that was not expired. Now, let me just say, this was at 10:30 on Sunday evening. The next 24 hours were handled with military precision and a whole lot of requests to the universe. Miraculously, we made the flight with 30 minutes to spare the next day with a brand new, hot off the press passport, quite literally, in our hands. Now, I wanted to share this hashtag parent fail with you because I realized only days later, when the adrenaline had finally subsided, that I had handled this in a completely different way than I would have done before. The moment I realized, I caught my brain trying to tell me all sorts of unhelpful things. Things like, you're a terrible parent. You're so disorganized. The boys are going to be so disappointed. It's your fault they're not going on holiday. Everyone will blame you for messing up. Now, in the past, I would have totally let these unhelpful thoughts take over. But here's what I know now. Life happens. Things go wrong. We mess up. We forget to do things like renewing passports. All of these things will happen. What's different now is I know it means nothing about me as a person. Me forgetting to renew a passport does not mean anything about me. It doesn't mean I'm a bad parent. It doesn't mean I'm chronically disorganized. Maybe just a little bit. It doesn't mean that I am the source of everyone's disappointment. It just means that I'm human and I'm going to mess up from time to time, and that it's completely normal and totally fine. The May from the past would have believed all these thoughts she was having. And as a result, she would have felt terrible. She would have felt useless. She would have felt unworthy. Because the only reason we can ever feel anything is because of the thoughts we choose to think. Now, my brain, liking to repeat what it's used to, wanted to go there immediately, and it did. But the difference is now that I can catch myself in these moments of old habits, of old ways of thinking, and choose again. I know that it's because of switching these unhelpful thoughts to more loving, more kind, more playful ones, that was the reason we made it on the plane the next day. I'm always encouraging my clients to take a more playful approach to things that come up for them in their lives. We tend to have this habit of over dramatizing the littlest of things. Here's the key to this perspective shift. I asked myself, what is the worst case scenario? What if we didn't make the flight? I decided that not making the flight, the worst case scenario, could also be amazing. My partner and my other kids would get on the flight as planned and head to Bali. We would stay in Melbourne for a few more days and fly out to join them once we had the passport. We'd have the most amazing few days, I decided. Just the two of us. We would go out for dinner. We would go to the cinema. We'd do some shopping. It wasn't that we weren't going on holiday. It was just going to be a different kind of holiday for the first few days. Meanwhile, the boys would be hanging poolside in Bali, having their own amazing time. Guiding my mind to go in this direction changed everything. When you're excited about the worst case scenario too, it's a pretty amazing feeling. Now, of course, we still wanted to make the flight. I was throwing everything at it. Visualizations, tapping. We were even sitting on the floor of the passport office writing thank you letters to the universe, saying how thankful and grateful we were that we were all on the flight together. But there was nothing about the situation that meant anything negative about me. My ex husband could have had negative thoughts when we had to ask him to come to our house at 6 a.m. to sign the paperwork for the passport. My partner could have thought negative thoughts about me for all the plans having to change at the very last minute. And my partner's parents, who were flying in from the UK to meet us in Bali, could have been a little apprehensive as I was the one responsible for booking all the flights back to Melbourne. Now, I don't think any of these people did think anything negative or blame me, but their thoughts, good or bad, are irrelevant. The only thing that had the potential to have me feel any particular way was how I chose to think about it. That's it. No one else's thoughts have the ability to make you feel anything. It's only my thoughts about it can cause me to feel a certain way. As I mentioned at the top of the episode, our requests to the universe were heard and granted, and we did make the flight. What I love is that all four of us were exactly where we should have been at 6 p.m. on Monday, in a plane en route to Bali. But the sense of excitement and adventure and the spontaneity of the day wasn't something that any of us had expected to experience that day. For all the fun things we did on that trip, I know in the future my kids will remember it as that time Mum forgot to get Gabe's passport. I want to leave you with this. There is no such thing as a negative experience, only negative thoughts about it. That's all for this week, guys. For updates, be sure and subscribe to my newsletter over at varilongmuir.com and come follow me on Instagram. I'm at varilongmuir. Thanks as always for listening, and I'll talk to you next week. If you enjoyed this podcast and you're ready to dive in deeper to create a business and life with intention, I would love to chat with you. Each month, I offer a limited number of discovery calls. I like to think of these as a casual first date. It's an opportunity for us to connect, for me to find out what's going on in your business and your life at the moment, and see if we're a good fit to coach together. These calls are completely free and with zero obligation. And I know from every single person I talk to, they leave with more clarity and more focus, whether they go on to work with me or not. So it's a win-win. There is literally nothing to lose. For more information and to book our virtual coffee date, head on over to varilongmuir.com/coaching.